to the FIREchat Podcast. My name is Rich Rice, your host, and today on the show I have Miss Evette Richardson,
L.
better known as L. She's got an alter ego, and she's been doing some mobile homes. She's been a member of the Fire Center here for many years now. And L, say hi to the people and tell us about yourself a little bit.
Hi, people. My name is L. Richardson. I am a Southern California girl. I live in Riverside now. I have been in Marietta, Temecula for like 20 plus years, and we just moved out here to Riverside a couple of years ago. And I got into fixing and flipping mobile homes.
Awesome.
Who would have thunk it?
I know, right? So what made you start? I mean, obviously you're interested in real estate, but like what made you start on the mobile home path specifically?
Well, coming and hanging out here at the club, got a lot of insight, a lot of information. I was thinking I was going to be a wholesaler, and I started coming to the club. It was the tail end of COVID. So wholesaling was everywhere. Everybody was making all this money, supposedly. But so I thought I was going to be a wholesaler, and that's what I focused on trying to do. And then I got to the club, hung out at the club for about 6 months like a fly on the wall, and wouldn't talk, wouldn't say anything, was very, very shy. But I never would really talk or say anything.
It's so funny. I don't even remember you being like that.
Yeah.
Always, I feel like you've always been like kind of, but I if I think back to that, yeah, I guess.
I sat in the room and didn't say anything for months.
That's
funny. I finally got over that. A private money loan came up, opportunity. And I actually jumped in on that because I had some lump of cash from another source, and it was sitting in my bank account, and I'd sat around long enough to know that shouldn't be just sitting in my bank account. So the first thing I actually did was a note.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know it. So your first deal was you lent?
My first deal was to lend.
Nice. Was that just personal, or was it out of your IRA or something?
It was personal cash.
Yeah. Right on. So you were sick of making that. Well, I guess the interest rate hasn't been, I mean, it's not great, but it's,
I don't know if it was one. At that time, the account that it was in, I think I had gone from like 8 or 9% down to like 3.5%.
Wow.
That's all it was earning. And so when the opportunity came up for 11, I was like, well, that was better than what I was getting before, and definitely better than what I'm getting now.
Yeah, for sure.
So I used it.
So how'd it go on that first lending?
It's going well. It actually just matured.
Oh, really?
She did ask for an extension. So I obliged her because she makes interest-only payments. So payments come in. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I know that's coming here shortly. So I'll be looking for another opportunity for that cash. But then I also loan from my self-directed IRA as well.
Awesome. So if like people were if out there listening and they what was that, the quick version, like what was that process like as far as you identified that opportunity? It was somebody from here, from the club?
Somebody from here.
Okay, so was that through exchangers or?
It was through exchangers.
Okay. So tell us how you found it real quick, and then like what the process was and kind of how you're wrapping it up.
So it was funny, actually. I was online that day. Before that, I had always come in person. And so I was online, muted, and everything. And the deal came up on this, the person mentioned the opportunity, and she asked for, I forget how much she asked for. I think she asked for 20K. And I was like, And then before I can really think or ask any questions, the Christmas guy.
Somebody jumped in with the offer.
Jumped in real quick. And I was like, oh no. And so I was trying to figure out how to unmute. And I'm tapping my screen, but I was on my PC. My laptop is touchscreen, but my PC is just a regular screen, and I'm tapping the screen.
Why did it not work?
I'm like, what the heck is going on? So then I realized, and I tapped and I unmuted, and I was like, hey, I wanted to get in on that. And so he offered to wrap, and I asked for 18,000 of it, and he wrapped 2.
Okay.
So it was a 24-month term, interest-only payments at 11%. So I was like...
And it was on somebody's flip?
It was on a acquisition for a mobile home acquisition, and she just needed that little bit to finish with the acquisition. I think to furnish it, she was going to rent it. It was a rental for a mobile home, and she wanted to finish up and do a little extra stuff to it and then furnish it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So that was almost 2 years ago. If it's coming due,
it came due in November, and then she asked for a 6-month extension.
So you ended up lending the 18. Okay, and then. Do you know how much you got back? Like in total with the payments?
I'd have to look again. It's been 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't remember.
I was just curious. So like the easy, the easy math there is, we could do it on the calculator real quick,
I
but
was like, well, my
it's,
calculator's
it's all good. The point is you got a return that was probably pretty decent at 11%.
11% plus
so,
2 points.
Yeah, but there you go. So
I didn't even know what the points were.
You're like, all right.
Andy was getting,
sounds like a good one.
So I was like, okay.
Okay. So what is points now that
well, the points are now a percentage. 1%, 2% is points of the initial loan that you put out. So for my example, it was $18,000 plus 2 points. So it's 2%, a little fee. It's basically a fee.
So was that $360?
It was like $360 extra, and I get that right off the top. And then she rolled it in, so then I now earn interest on the $18,360 instead of the straight $18,000.
Okay.
So it bumps up a little extra.
Awesome.
She rolled in the points.
That's cool that you did that as your first one.
Yeah.
And then when you went to borrow money, I knew the process and whatnot. So for those people listening out there that have no idea what Exchangers is, since you've been around, you've been to the meeting many times. Why don't you tell them? And
so Exchangers is an awesome time. It's a meeting of like-minded people, all investors, newbies, non-investor, realtors, agents, lenders, service people who are providing certain services or whatnot. And you have an opportunity to post money, real estate, notes, notes and stuff. So there's exchanges going on. There's money being moved around. People are borrowing. People are lending. There's trades that happen. Like today, there was a trade that was amazing for some tickets, sports tickets for exchange for services and real estate deal opportunities. So very, very cool time. And that's where I really educated myself for the basics and beyond. And it's a great place to learn because you can ask all the questions you want.
Yep.
And the time is allotted to answer all the questions that we have, especially as newbies. Even if you're not a newbie, there's these deals that come up and you need to ask a question to try to understand it because it gets very creative. A lot of creative financing, creative deal structuring, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that meeting meets here at the Fire Center every Wednesday, 2 to 4 p.m. If you want to check it out more, you can go to SoCalExchangers.com. Again, that's SoCalExchangers.com, and we'll end the commercial there. So back to the conversation. So good. That was perfect. And yeah, I mean, when Andy, had the idea for that meeting, and he wanted to do it, an exchange meeting, but I didn't really know what that was, and we went to Florida years ago, and man, it's grew from way what I told her to today to, just leave those signs I've been putting out in the back, like just leave them out, that's now we got a full room, but yeah, there's usually we've had about 30 people in the room and about 40 on Zoom pretty consistently for the last, so, I mean, if we could not even double that, just, another 15 and 15 on both mediums, it would, more people and more deals, right?
Right. And that's what I was going to say. I've noticed a change in the deals that are being made and how quickly they're being made.
Yeah.
Because there's new people, there's new money in the room that wasn't here last year.
Yep.
Probably even last month, January, but 2025, there is a significant difference in the number of deals that we're making and the quality of money that's coming in the door. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I have noticed that.
Yep. And like I said, the more people that come, the more interesting things get.
Exactly.
If it's every week's different. I mean, a lot of the same people are in the room this week, as last week, but it was a totally different meeting from, totally different board, from what it was last week. So it changes from week to week. And it's definitely one of my favorite meetings. It's very interesting. It's, sometimes like I said, I just sit on the wall and just watch stuff happen and jump right in if I want to, and then other times it's super active, so good stuff. So, all right. So back to you. So you lent your first deal and then you jumped into mobile home flipping yourself from there. And did you do it by yourself or did you do it with somebody or?
The first deal that I did was by myself. It was going to be with a partner, but as we ran the numbers, we realized it was kind of skinny, what they call skinny, which means just the margin was tight. There was profit there, but it was just tight. So it's like, I don't know if it's really worth it to do that. I may as well keep it for myself. That's what he suggested. Still had help with it, so I wasn't on my own, but I secured the funding, got my lender in place, got the money for it, and went for it.
And that was here in Southern California, right?
Yes, it was Apple Valley.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, where do you live?
I live here in Riverside.
Okay. So how far of a drive was that for you?
It was a little over an hour.
Okay. So, so just curious, like, how did the project go in general?
So in general, it was my first, and I will say this as a positive, I lost on it, but at least I got it out of the way. I lost money on that one. A lot of mistakes, not knowing what I didn't know. And then knowing what I did know, I did my due diligence, but there was a few little things that I realized as I was deeper in it. And in the meantime, I'm still in these classes. I'm still in these sessions. I'm still at the exchangers. So I'm learning stuff still as we go. And it took me 9 months to sell it.
Okay, so
And
you just kind of...
it was painful.
So the park rent just kind of eat you? Or?
Yeah, the park rent, the holding costs ate it up. And then I had to bring in a realtor because it just was sitting. I was marketing it and posting it and doing all these things. But that wasn't the challenge. The challenge was the pricing. I had the wrong pricing right from the start. And I just didn't know it. I did the numbers based on what
that's part of the first time deal, Woes.
And
I'm still learning them on 150 a deal. So
exactly. So that first one, and my lenders are experienced, and they didn't catch it either. But it was that demographic.
Was it? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a 55 and over park.
Yeah, it's a senior park in Apple Valley, and it's tucked away, so it had some distance to it to get to. Like before you get into like the area where you got your stores and your shoppings and appointments and things like that. So when people would come out to look at it, the feedback that I got was like, oh, it's just kind of far. It's far. Yeah. It was too far deep into Apple Valley.
It was almost to because I did one in that park too, and it was almost to like what is that road that goes through Lucerne? Like kind of out the backside, like you blocked it all out.
Yeah, I blocked
you never went there again?
No, I'll never go there again. Nothing to do with Apple Valley people. Yeah, but no, hey, I won't be there.
So I mean, so let me ask you this question. So I mean, you learned that it was too out there. Far. That was the main lesson there,
yes.
Or that?
No, that was one. That was the feedback.
Okay.
So there was potential, but it wasn't conveniently located for people, especially 55 plus. So you got to think about that too. But the other thing was the demographic and their income levels. The pricing that I had it at would have been more if it was a family park, that would have worked. But because of it being a senior park, where it's located, the price point, the income wasn't enough to support what I was marketing at for the first 3 months. Once I took a look at the pricing, I did some research to see what the average income was for a senior on Social Security, and it was half of what I was asking.
Wow. Yeah,
and
plus the space rent and all that. So
and insurance. So that's when I realized I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, for sure. And so you were originally you were trying to do the kind of the Lonnie deal method of seller carrying. And did you end up doing that to get out, or did you end up just selling it cash?
I just had to sell it cash.
Okay.
Get rid of it because the Lonnie deal wasn't going to work, and the money to pull it just didn't. It was time to let it go.
Yeah, for sure. Now let me ask you something. So have you ever thought about doing out of state stuff, or have you always been just doing here?
I've thought about it, especially this year. I thought about it last year, but it's in the front of my mind this year.
Okay. So. All right. Well, let me back up. I didn't expect you to say that. So what has you looking at a state?
To be able to do rental properties, California.
Okay.
Love you, Cali.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's just
I'm politics wise or just
wise. It's not
cash flow wise
landlord friendly. I'm just afraid of the whole.
Man, you haven't been listening to me on that stage.
I heard you. I hear everybody, but it's still a viable.
Well, where are you looking?
Possible. Not looking yet.
Okay.
I'm paying attention.
Okay. My question to you was going to be, obviously you have more experience now, but how, some of those issues you had, was there any issues like the rehab or anything like that. So that was all easy. It was just the getting rid of it part.
And it was good because the reason I even went for it, even though it was that far, was because it was pretty much move-in ready. I didn't have to rehab it. I did a couple of little things. The shower needed to be redone. I'm not sure the people that lived there before it worked, but I did reglaze the shower base. Did something in the other main bathroom. I think I changed hardware, and I think we also reglazed that just to give it a fresher look. But he had put in new cabinets and new vanities. The kitchen had been painted already, so it was like pretty much go in and maybe spend about $1,500. Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got the loan to purchase it, and then the holding costs $5,000. Because I didn't have to really do any rehab, and I figured 4 or 6 months, the space rent was like $4 something.
Okay, so looking back, it sounds like you maybe, since it didn't need a whole lot of work, did you overpay for it?
A little bit.
Okay.
Not much, but a little.
Okay.
And had it, and because of what I did get it at, the only reason why it would be considered maybe a little bit because of the time that it takes for senior parks. I calculated 4. And I anticipated 6, but I really expected it to move in 4 months.
Gotcha.
And so it was right there, and it was my first one. And because I didn't have a rehab, I was like, oh, well, I can pay a little extra to get it because no rehab.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know. And typically, like, those are the ones that are like, I'm always skeptical on, people say like, or like the ones that are like half flipped. And I'm like, why are they selling it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was somebody emailed me one or texted me one a couple days ago that it was like, the description was like, yeah, we're done, but we'd make enough money just selling it. It only needs like flooring. And I'm like, dude, I've flipped enough houses. Like if it needed flooring and I was going to get $60,000 paycheck versus like a $20,000, like I'm going to put the flooring in. Like, come on. What's up?
That was a little,
And so I'm always leery of those ones that like don't need a lot of work,
This one was clean. I went out and looked at it. It was clean. It was good to go. I made a couple of little changes just to kind of, just because of me and my personality, just made it a little nice. Just wasn't the right time at the right property.
Well, I'm going to ask you the question I was going to ask you anyways, but you're probably not going to make the point I was trying to make, but it's okay. So
Jedi mind trick didn't work.
Yeah, right. The issues you had, and I know you mentioned that it was, over an hour drive. Like if you had to do it again, and I know it's not apples to apples comparison here, but like if you had to do it again, would you rather it be an hour drive or would you rather it be, a 5-hour flight or, a 15-hour drive?
Rich. If it works, I'll fly because I like traveling anyway.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair.
But I get your point. I wouldn't do over an hour necessarily again. Let me change that. I wouldn't do a senior park again that far because there's just a different dynamic to senior parks.
Yep.
The time frame, your pricing, your smaller market. There's just too many other little obstacles that you have to, overcome by being in a senior park. I would do it locally, something closer, but something to go out that far when I had to show it, and it was just a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm 100% with you. Like I will not do I generally will not flip in a park unless I get a little bit of space rent from the park. It's got to be some serious deal for me to just, but absolutely in a 55 and over park, I've pretty much drawn a line in the sand. Like I will do it and I'll make this pretty and do it for you, get you a good, resident in here. But I won't pay space rent until it's sold. Your new person will pay space rent.
So
and if they won't do that,
the park is like incentivizing you to buy it, like if it's park owned.
Yeah. Either a park owned or if I am negotiating with an owner, then I'm going to the park. Because typically, like if it's something I'm interested, with the owner, the park's probably got an eye on it and they would like it to be nicer. And I'll go to them and say, hey, I'm looking at buying this, and but in order for me to do that, I need some help. And if they don't do it in the 55 and older, I just won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, cause it literally will just, most of them are a little bit skinnier because the resale isn't there with the 55 and older.
Right.
And they sit, they even now, even when they're flying off the market in the all ages park, well, not flying, but they're selling quicker than, and even the all ages stuff. I won't even like if the park's hostile.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Oh,
like
definitely.
I'm actually in the middle of one right now with the on a wholesale thing. I bought it from a wholesaler, and the park the legal issues weren't quite cleared up as much as I was under the impression that they were when I signed that deal, and we're still trying to figure it out. But it's like I think we're gonna be okay. We're gonna close, but like the park is being a little hostile. That I'm just like. Okay, like I'm trying to do you a favor, like like if you don't want my help, fine. Yeah. Like it's
and that gets tricky because when you start off and it has like an issue like that with the park management, it makes you skeptical because are they going to be challenging when it comes time to sell?
Exactly.
And so if there's like a funny vibe from the very beginning, I go in and talk and chit chat. I go hang out at the office with the ladies. I'm like, hey, just stopping in and say hello. How y'all doing today? I'll remember something from last time and just conversate and get a feel while I'm still kind of in negotiations. Or if it's just a park that I like, I'm trying to connect to see, how are they going to be to work with?
Yeah, for sure.
And so. Yeah, because it can be tough.
Yeah,
those managers, park managers can.
Yeah, I got and there's one I work with. They have multiple parks, and they give me at least 3 months space rent, at least. And usually, if I'm not done in 3 months, I'll be like, hey, can I get a couple more? And they're like, all right, and they know I do what I say. I get them a good good buyer, and and it works for everybody. But. But then there's other ones like we did these 7 mobile homes down in Paris, and man, they were just they just fought us every like gave us nothing. I mean, we literally paid more than we should have for them. Gave this park like $500,000.
Wow.
Like to buy these 7, all at the same time. Immediately started paying space rent. Didn't get a single concession in space rent. And
they were park owned.
They were all park owned. Like, so we flushed them with cash, $500,000, like, and then boom, immediately like $7,000 a month. And like we, in space rent, it was $900. So, just what we were bringing to the table to get this done, and then they had these, there was garages in the park that was all owned by the park, but they were like attached to the home. So it was like this weird dynamic, and we wanted to put new roofs on we put new roofs on all 7 houses, right? And we wanted to put roofs on the garages, and we told them it was going to be, my roofer doing 7 of them was only going to charge us $2,000 per garage. And we're like, hey, we'll split it with you. Nope, you guys can do it if you want. And we're talking like some of these roofs were like down to the not just the granules were gone, the shingle was gone, like down to the plywood, down to the sheathing, and they didn't want. I was just like, okay, and the final nail that I was just like, what, forget it. Like was we had a cash buyer, and they wouldn't. And this house had fallen out of escrow a couple times. We had a cash buyer selling their house, putting full 100%, buying it cash, and they denied them because they made like 2.8 times instead of 3 or whatever the space rent, and they told the buyer like, we'll approve you if you pay us a year of space rent up front, and they were just like, yeah, screw you, we're just gonna. So they backed out of and they're like, we're just gonna move out of state.
This is
and I was just like, and that's the nature of it. Like you're at the mercy of the park in a lot of these, and like you said, I think that's a great plan. I was BSing with the maintenance guys for like a half an hour the other day in a new park that I'm going to be at the same
that's
this
good
one,
too, the maintenance guys.
And just kind of seeing the vibe of like the staff and and they were cool. They were really cool. So that's what ultimately made me move forward. But we'll see. Not to get into the weeds here, but like that's the
that's the nature of it.
The parks. It's there. It's like dealing with management and a rental. Right. They're like God at that point. Like they're they can do and say whatever and have you do whatever you want,
and the
whatever
rules
they want.
Are theirs to be made. And broken.
Yeah,
they can make them and break them.
Yep.
So always get in good if you can. Fill them out first. Get an idea of kind of how they feel about investors.
Yep.
Some of them don't want investors in the park at all. Some won't do storage agreements. I know that's a jargon flag. But a storage agreement is something where you go into a park as an investor and you don't apply as a resident, you apply as your entity or your business, and they with the understanding that you're not going to be moving in. So it's more of a storage agreement than a tenant. So they don't pull and check, I don't have an application. They don't pull my credit. They don't do all that stuff. And I prefer those. But the one that we just did, I had to apply as a real person, as me.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I've seen that.
Yeah, I called it several of you guys here at the club. I was like, have you had to do this? And I heard people say that it would come up, but I didn't know if anybody had done it. And sure enough, it was very commonplace. That
They're making me this one that I'm right now. It's a storage agreement, but they want me to do the full application also for the storage agreement. I was like, all right. Yeah, that's I'm like, I think they're just in the park's defense. Like, there's been an ongoing eviction. It's been an ongoing problem. Okay. They've had legal involved, and this has been like a thorn in their side, forever, and well, not forever, for a while, and the wholesale I got it from is a little newer on the mobile home side. So there was some miscommunication there on that I'm sure has been happening kind of all. So they're just kind of like, they're just frustrated. Like it's, and I'm just stepping in and, hopefully solving their problem, but again, I just, like let's work together, if we can't work together and figure this out, then, then I tell people like, if the park's not going to work with you, like, or just roadblock you every single step of the way, like, dude, there's a lot of parks out there. There every day, literally every day I drive past another park that I didn't know was there.
Isn't that interesting? Because now you see them everywhere. Before I was doing this, didn't see them, didn't notice them, because they usually are pretty obscure. But man, now that my eye is trained differently,
there's a ton of them.
I see them. I see them a mile away.
Yep.
A mile away, and then sometimes I'll drive. If it's on the right side, then I'll kind of pull to the side, take a picture of the sign, so I'll remember it, and then keep going. But I have to remember like where they are, because just never notice they were there, especially if it's in a good location. Definitely know when to pay attention.
I drove this morning. I wasn't driving. I've driven down the street 30 times working on the one down the street. And Caitlin was driving this morning, and I was just kind of looking out the window, and we drove past, and there was a park that popped up. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was there. And it literally looked like an old camp, like an actual RV park.
Oh, okay.
But like had mobile homes in it with like, they had, you couldn't even see the skirting on some of these. It was just tarps. And they were like this close together, like it was just stacked, boom, 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 like it looked like a parking lot with RVs in it.
It's the
like,
old trailer park.
Yes,
it's the trailer park.
Very, very
where
much.
That original
very, very much from. So. And I was just like,
they're still out there.
Wow, like that's the one where I go to management and say, you want to sell the whole thing, like. Just slowly go from there. But so
interesting. Yeah, I see them all the time now.
Cool. So what are you working on now?
I'm working on one. We just closed, what's the day? Wednesday? We closed Monday, late Monday, 5:05 p.m. I was like sweating it. And then we started the project yesterday. It's in Paris. I hope it's not the same part. Hasn't been, it was a little challenging, but it was because of the situation. But anyway, but it's in Paris. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's like 1,600 square feet. I think it's like a 2006, 2008, something like that. So it's a good year. It's newer, but it's in bad shape.
Really?
Yeah, it's in really bad shape.
How much did you pick it up for?
63. ARV is going to be like 180.
Does it have a garage?
Huh?
Does it have a garage?
No. Family park.
Then it's not that park.
No, okay. It's gonna be a good one.
Cool. How much rehab do you think it's gonna take you?
We were at 35, but we just looked at. We knew the kitchen had to be redone, but we were going to try to save the cabinets because they're in good enough shape to fix. The contractor was able to fix them and then paint. So the ones that were kind of beat up, he's like, no, these can be restored. I can take care of those. But my partner, Raphael, he was there last night, and he texted me. It was like 8:30, 9 o'clock. It was late. I'm like, what's going on?
I've been in houses at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Well, he was there later, but when he called me, he said, you don't want to see this, but let me tell you right now, this is really bad shape. So there's infestation
in the cabinets.
And he said because the guy had already started to pull out one section that was bad, and he said
just disintegrating.
He said this is gonna. He said because I'm sure that behind all of this is bad. I was like, really? Like, can we exterminate? Can we do
like
that?
not find out?
This might need to be tinted.
Oh wow.
He said, I got a picture if you want to see it.
Jeez.
I said, I'm good.
Yeah.
He said,
that's a tough one. That's a tough one. It's like there's a balance of, when
what needs to be
when you
done
tell them to like, dude, stop exploring, and where, sometimes they're not exploring and their fingers and, tools are just going right through the wood, and it's like, you do what you got to do. So
the budget was at 30. So now we're
having to do a fresh kitchen. You'll get it back.
That's true. We'll get it back, and that's going to even solidify our pricing anyway, where we're going to be. But it's just that extra labor and cost of cabinet. It's a pretty good sized kitchen, and there's cabinets everywhere. So it had great storage, a lot of cabinets. So now we're trying to think about how we might reconfigure it to not have as many cabinets because we have to replace them. The uppers are all in good shape, so the lower ones are the ones you have to replace. You're going to pull out that you have to replace those. So I'm like, well, if we got to replace all of those, can we save these?
That's a good idea.
And then paint and to match whatever it is we get because they're there and they're good shape. But if not, we'll just reconfigure. And we have some ideas we're thinking about doing to kind of change it up a little bit and just kind of remove some of the cabinets because there's a lot of cabinets. Yeah,
that's a great idea. And slight tip here, if I may, is because they're going to look different than anything you're going to be able to find. So if you paint them a different color and like lean into that difference, people will notice it less.
Absolutely.
So if your new ones are all white and they're like green or something, or blue or whatever, like it'll be like, oh, they did different. Yeah, they won't even notice.
That's why I was like, we can do a different color, the upper lower combination.
Yep. And put a nice countertop and it'll look great. We've done that many times and saved part of them. And I just did it in a rental. I added if you lean into the difference, if you try and match stuff too much, it's going to notice like, oh, those are different, but like if like I just I have an oak kitchen with quartz countertops and I needed to add because we had a big old stove in there. And then when we moved, we had to put a cabinet back but I didn't have one that matched.
Right.
And so I just put in there was honey oak cabinets with a white top, and then I put in a white cabinet with a butcher block, and it's completely different than the rest of the kitchen.
But it pops.
But it
works.
It works. Then it looks nice next to the new stainless stove, and so if you lean into that difference, it's especially now. I mean, that's like the trend right now. Is that different color, different uppers and blowers. Right. So
Oh, cool. That's
cool.
Okay, good. So we're on the right track.
Yeah.
We just gotta figure out and try to minimize that, but we might go to 40,000 on the rehab because we were already like at 32, but we are also thinking
the numbers
about
you're talking. I mean, if you go another 5,
another 5, we'll be fine. It's still there. That's why we're like we might go ahead and do it. And then one of the other options because it's really big, and one of the bedrooms is really big, like the second or the third bedroom's really really big, but the dining room right off the kitchen. Has the window right there. It's got electric, and I'm looking around. I'm going, okay, so this living room this is another bedroom right here somewhere. One of these is going to be another bedroom. And in a family park, it's a 3.
Yeah.
And in a family park, 4 bedrooms are those are a commodity.
Yep.
It's hard and rare to come by. So to be able to find that, like the one we did in Moreno Valley was a 4.2, and it sold in one day. Literally one day.
Yep.
Over asking. Well over asking. So that's why I was like, when I saw that space was like that, I said, I think we can make this a 4. But now with the kitchen having to be completely done, we might leave that alone because that was going to be that extra maybe 5,000 to kind of do that and some other little things. But now the kitchen is primary.
Yeah, of course. We always start, kitchens, bathrooms, and then, but, if generally an extra bedroom will get you another, 10 to 20, so I just did this morning. Actually, we were at, I have a single wide that I'm working on right now, and it had this like room off to the side, that we made better. It was like it was a little janky. And so we secured it and made it nicer. And we're going to call it a bedroom. It's like a laundry room kind of thing. And so it'll be a 2-bedroom. It started as a 1, so it'll be basically a 2. And then Caitlin had never seen it. And so she saw it this morning. She's like, and there's a kind of like a double living room also. It's like, single wide where they kind of built off to the side. And so there's almost like, it's one big living room, but it's, essentially if you put up a wall and gave it a 3rd bedroom, you could, and it would still be like, you'd still have a living room essentially. Or you could move, the slider and move it around and have a 3-bedroom basically. And I was like, we're like less than a week away from listing.
Oh man.
And I'm like,
and you didn't have the brains behind the business.
I know, right? And I was like, I just, because we had some issues in there that ate a lot of funds, and I was just concerned about those, and now I'm like, man, because I got it for 10 and put 30 into it essentially, and sell it for like 90 is like the idea. But if I made it if I put another 5 in and made it a 3-bedroom. I might get 120 solid, for it, right.
The
so
90 is solid and then some.
Yeah. So, and the 3-bedroom, we just learned the hard way too on I've learned this lesson many times, but it was like, there's only so much budget, here and on these 7 mobile homes, we had one that was wrecked, like just in really bad shape, and $5,000 worth of haul out just to clean it out. I mean, it was like 7 loads of it was
the big dumps, or the trailer?
Of the big ones, the big trailers, and 10-foot wall. I mean, it was a ton of stuff. I mean, you couldn't even it was like up past your waist while walking through this thing, and it was a 2-bedroom, and we had it on the market. We had it pretty fair. It was big. It was like 1,600 square feet, and we thought about it. We thought about adding the 3rd bedroom, but it was the rehab on that one was already way higher than everything else. We just rolled the dice that it was because it was so big, that somebody would buy it and put their own wall up, if they needed the 3-bedroom kind of thing. Yeah. And so it sat for like 4 months, and we finally just said, I don't really usually do this. In our defense, the whole market slowed down in the middle of this whole
last
flip.
Year, right?
So
After early fall.
Yeah, it was probably on the market for probably 7 months actually. Yeah. But everything was sitting. We had big units, small units. We had a lot of in this park that was just sitting, and so I did something I normally never do. Once I list it on the market, I don't go back and improve it ever, and because I feel like you just throw that money away. Like if in a flip, in a rental, sure, but if you in a flip, once you list it, that's it, that's what you're rolling with. Yeah. And if you try and sit there and play that game of I'll do this, and maybe I'll add this, and then maybe it'll sell, it's like you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot. But for this one, I was like, all right, let's pull it off the market. We'll add that 3rd bedroom in, and we took it off, and then relisted it 2 weeks later, and we got an offer within 2 or 3 weeks, and they just closed. They just closed today actually. So difference. It was just because the other 3-bedroom that we had in that park sold, it went into escrow 3 times, instantly. And then the 3rd people finally bought it. But we literally, the 2 times it fell out was not the house's fault. We had three cleanest home inspections. We had 3 home inspections on that, and they were almost nothing. They were the cleanest inspections I've seen, because I usually leave a couple things for the inspector to find. And it's water heater straps and stuff like that, and but that house, I guess the first people that bought it got into an argument with the neighbors while they were looking at it, while they were doing their inspection. So they backed out and blamed it on the house, but it wasn't that. Wait,
the potential buyers got into an argument.
Yeah, they got it because
their neighbors.
They were getting their inspection done, and the tow truck was coming around. And then I guess they got into an argument with the tow truck driver, who was in an argument with the neighbor. And so they bounced. And then the second people that went into escrow were the one I told you about, that the park tried to get them to
muscle them.
Yeah. And so they walked out, and then we, so those are the 3 bedrooms in there were going quick. It was all the smaller 2 bedrooms that were taking a little while. But like I said, with that whole thing with the park, they own the garages. So termite inspections kept coming up with and the garage had all this termite issues. And it was that's not even part of it. That we're not even, and
but it was attached.
Yeah. You know, so
That's very
it was
interesting. Very
an
unique.
interesting dynamic that was like, all right, we're gonna do our best here.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
so
you're in it now.
you know,
Figure out how to make
yeah.
make
So
it
they're
work.
all gone though. They're all
Good.
sold
Although
as of
the
today.
7 are gone.
Yep, they're all sold as of
You
today.
guys have to update us.
Yeah, we
Somebody was
literally
asking
just
me
closed
about
today
it.
this morning.
Okay, the last
so,
one was okay.
Yep.
Somebody
so.
asked me about it like a week or two ago, and I said I said I think they maybe have had 1 or 2 left. And I was like, somebody thought you guys hadn't sold any of them. I said no, they've been selling.
Yeah,
they sold.
yeah, and it was one of those things like we came out the gate perfect. I mean, it literally was like we took the 2 worst, 2 best ones that turned out the best, and so they were all identical. 5 of them were identical basically, and then 2 of them were bigger, like the bigger 3-bedroom and the bigger 2-bedroom. And so we took the 2 best smaller ones, and we put those were the ones that like had the most work done to them. And we put those on the market immediately. Those went under escrow within like a week each, and then they took 7 weeks or something to close.
For escrow to close?
Like it was just all
Probably
this between the stuff between the park getting paperwork and finance stuff and blah blah blah. And then as soon as those were under escrow, we put a couple more up, released those because we did the rehab in 6 weeks. I mean, we literally took 7 mobile homes, new roofs, all the way from new roof all the way down to we replumbed every single one of them.
No way.
Because they were all that gray polybutylene, and so we redid all. So literally like full rehabs on these things in 6 weeks, and then we're trickling them out, and it was going great, and then until literally like the market slowed down, and then what do you call it? The market slowed down a little bit, and then we had those couple buyers, issues, and then things just, and the whole stuff, and the whole park was sitting. It wasn't just us. So, and meanwhile, it was $900 a unit per unit. So I mean, we right. I mean, it was just watching our profit just evaporate on a monthly basis, and but I mean, it was we still all made money. It's just we had nowhere near what we thought we were going to make. Right. But that's flipping. So
that is
if you want to get into fix and flip, be ready for that reality. So,
but it's all good. It's just part of it because they're not all like that.
Exactly.
So the key part is the reason why there was still money in it with all those headaches, with all the drama. They bought right from the start.
Good point.
If you buy right, then there's room for
you to not make anything
happen. Yeah, and I watch this PG, right? For stuff to happen. So it's just how you start, and it's like your money is made on the purchase. Thank you, Pete Fortunato.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, let's switch gears here a little bit. So, obviously, this is financial independence to real estate podcasts we focus on here on the podcast and in the Fire Center. So let's pivot a little bit to the financial independence part. I know, was that a goal for you, or what drove you to real estate, and how did you kind of get into it?
Yes, it was a goal for me, and that was the motivating factor was the financial independence. First and foremost, that was why I got into real estate. I've always kind of been around it. My mother has been a real estate agent for I want to say it might be about 30 years now. Nice. Out of she's in LA, South Bay kind of areas. But top producer, top, all this stuff. So I've learned indirectly so much about real estate, the markets, the ups and downs, the marketing and hustle, the grind, all of these things just by being around my mother and her talking about her business. So it's always been something I've been familiar with. So I knew what the potential was. But that was from a perspective from a realtor or a real estate agent. I never had the interest to do that, but real estate still made sense. Matter of fact, in 2000, when did the crash? 2006, 7, and then the crash was 2008. All right. So 2006, 7, I actually bought 3 properties. I had my own personal residence, and then I bought 3 other properties. And that was the time where they joked and said, if you had a pulse, they were giving out loans, which is what ended up happening to the market. That's how the market ended up crashing. But anyway, I wanted to invest and have passive income. And so we bought our first property, but it was a new build in Rancho Cucamonga, at the top of the market. This is knowing now in hindsight. But it was at the top of the market. I didn't know that. Didn't know what the top of the market was. But I bought a new.
It always goes up, right?
It goes up. Oh, this is great. Everybody's moving out there. Well, yeah. Okay. So anyway, so I bought that one, and that was right before the crash. But foreclosures were already happening. Really, really, they were high, and so this family paid the rent 12 months in advance. That was my first one.
Wow.
So I was like, oh, wow, I have the whole, I bought this house. I got enough to clear the mortgage. I don't think I was plus. I think I was breaking even, maybe like $50 or something is the difference. But I was able to get the rent was equal to the mortgage, which was unheard of. I didn't know. Again, I didn't know a lot. I just like doing stuff.
Stumbling through it.
Yeah, so that was the good. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this again. And had a friend that was a lender, and I'm talking to her about different opportunities and stuff. And she was like, "Oh, there's ways that you can buy. You can do stated income. You can do this. You can do no doc. You can do this." I was like,
"That was the Wild West."
So yeah, it was, and I got wild with it because before I knew it, I had two more. One was in L.A. Where was that other one? Rancho Cucamonga, L.A. and I forget what the other one was. I didn't even ever see it. I got it wholesaled to me. I didn't know what wholesaling was back then. I don't know if anybody really knew what wholesaling, but that's what it was. He didn't call himself a wholesaler.
And you were able to buy that with a bank loan?
Bought it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't let you do that anymore.
Yeah. No. And it was my third one at that point.
Yeah.
So didn't have to qualify really. My credit score was good, and that was it.
Like you said, you had a pulse.
Yep, had a pulse and a credit score. So it worked. So I got caught in the whole crash.
Were they variables or?
Oh, were they all?
Yeah.
They're all what were they? The subprime.
Yep.
I had subprime loans, variables, 5-1 arm, something like that. But before we can get to the 5-year, the market had crashed. I was in a year or so, maybe 18 months, and I had bought those properties. And before I knew it, it just snowballed. It just snowballed, and I was devastated. So it took me a long time. It was 2008. So I had kind of started dabbling then because I wanted rental properties, and I wanted to try to build up on the passive income.
Yep.
But when that happened, it was such a burn. I didn't get back into it until 2022. And I just kind of started coming back around and, started, and I knew more, of course. I paid attention to what was happening, what had happened, and learning along the way and stuff. I've always asked a lot of questions about real estate. I'm always asking my mom, oh, so what's that? And this is going what? Well, how much is that? Well, why is that? So I've always been curious about it. So I've always asked questions about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that was how I kind of got started way back then.
And were you able to keep any of them or
no?
You had to get
lost everything.
Yeah. Well, that's
the houses.
That's unfortunately a lot of people learned that way or the hard way on that one.
It was wild. It was really wild, and it was you just woke up one day and literally the market crashed.
Yeah,
it was like that. I remember waking up, getting started with my day, and making some phone calls, doing some things, and there were dial tones or there were busy signals. Like there were banks that their phones were already turned off.
Yeah.
I was like, how did they know that from yesterday to today? Why yesterday I talked to this lender and today the phone number is disconnected. It was weird.
No, yeah, I remember, I was working, I was in college at the time, and I was working for a pretty large company, global company at the time. And, but I had at one point I was in the field a lot with them, and I had, big, national accounts and stuff like that. I was in Home Depots and Lowe's, and I had a pretty good pulse on things. And, but when I went off to ASU, I had taken on this really phone position where I would just call and try and get orders, from people all over the country that were low on stock.
Oh, okay.
And so I was pretty much calling these guys hey, you're low, do your job, order more, kind of thing. And, and it wasn't a whole lot of, because it was always new stores and it wasn't a whole ton of relationship building. So I was kind of disconnected from what was going on on the ground at that point. And I remember one of my colleagues calling me, and they were just out of the blue, and they were did you make it? And I was like, make what? What are you talking about? And I was like, well, your phone's still working, so I guess you made it. Is your email still working? I was like, yeah, I think so. I just got an email like a little bit ago. Yeah. And he's like, cool. And well, they had just laid off like, 1,000 people out of the company or whatever. Like a third of the company had just been let go. And I was just like, and I had no idea. Like I was, and that's when I was just like, that's why I woke up quick after that. I was like, oh shit. And, and yeah, it was, my dad got caught up in that, lost his house and, so, everyone's hopefully making smarter decisions now. Yeah.
Absolutely. They don't let you do all that crazy stuff. And if you, in my, not my defense, but even just in the consumer's defense, if the bank approve, we don't control that. We apply and they say, we're just doing what they say to do. Give me this or don't give me that, or apply, fill this out, not, so you're doing what they're telling you to do. And then they come back with a yes. You feel like you've done the right thing and you've done what you were asked to do. And now I have property. So it's just unfortunate that
in some ways I wish it was that easy, but I'm glad that the market's, that at least the lending market there is more stable nowadays. Cause I mean, if you tried to apply for a loan nowadays, they go through everything with a comb and it's
and rightfully so. I get it. Yeah.
Some things I feel like they've got a little bit too far in their other direction, and then other I'm like, well, this is why, because they almost burnt the country down. So, in the world. So it makes sense. But so all right, well, I like to ask people what does like what does financial independence mean to you?
Freedom, flexibility, and control of my time.
Time freedom.
Time freedom. I have between me and my husband, we have 6 children, and we now have 5 grandchildren. Nice. Our oldest, him and his wife, they popping them out. They just popped them all out.
Nice.
Quickly and got it done. So baby number 4 was just born.
How close are they?
They are a year and a half to 2 years apart on each one. So
that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, you guys gonna do real quick? Yeah.
I had a big gap between me and my siblings, so which
they're just they knocked them out. They just wanted to knock it out. So we became like instant grandparents in a very short period of time.
That's cool.
But they live in Texas, and all of them live in Texas, and so the flexibility to be able to go and not have to worry about working a job. Because I left my job right before COVID hit. And I'm like, man, if I had known, like a month later, we were in lockdown and I had already quit my job, because I was like, yep, I'm done with this. Right. I'm going into my own thing, start my own business, focus. I just didn't want to do. I worked for Abbott Vascular. Abbott is in Temecula, but it's a global medical device company. So I worked there for like 10, 11 years. But yeah, so the independence, the flexibility to be able to go whenever I want. My daughter asked me the other day, she's like, so, when you're coming again, and we're going to not wait till the summer. I was like, no, I'll come. She said, okay, well, what about next month? And I'm looking at the calendar and I'm like, okay, I'll just come hang out for the weekend, maybe Thursday through Monday. And that is what that's about. Family trips. That's a big goal that me and my husband has had for a long time. We did a little bit of something like that last summer, and it was so much fun. So much fun. We got an Airbnb in College Station, because that's where our oldest son and his family lives. And then went and got my other grandson in San Antonio. We drove out, rented this house. It was the best time.
Cool.
It was the best time. And that is what this is really about.
Absolutely.
And then also stacking money away for retirement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I need to just,
cool.
But I just like the flexibility and the freedom to be able to love on my babies and have fun.
Yep. Life on your own terms.
That's it.
There you go.
Sounds good to me.
Is that where you're thinking about maybe doing some rentals? Is that where they're at?
Yes. I was looking, I don't know if that I want to go in Texas, but there's some thought of doing that because I want to do some things with my girls. Because, one of them, she's really interested in buying something. So there's, actually 2 of them interested in buying something, but we're thinking we can get something house hack. They can get a duplex or something, and they can live in one side and we can rent the other sides. Or we're thinking about getting something there because we're visiting so much. But it's like the location. We have to find something in between because like part of the family lives in San Antonio area, and then we have it in College Station, and then we got one in Houston. So we got to kind of figure out if we get a
and
place.
Texas is huge.
Yeah, and it's like no matter which way we would go, it'd be a couple of hours, but of a drive, which is not a big deal. But we're thinking about doing something like that and maybe Airbnb. So the location matters for that. That way, when we come to visit, we just block out that time, and we'll always have a place to stay. So that's something I want to work on too.
Nice.
Again, that's all part of that financial independence.
Absolutely.
Being able to pick and choose and have something, a second home, but then hack it to make it work for us. So it's not just costing us money; it has to make us money.
Yeah, and I mean that was the that was like the original dream of Airbnb, and now it's like it's a full-time job if you want it to work. But I know some people have figured out that all of us, like, I think I could go use it when it's not being used, but then it's like you don't even want to look at the place when it's not being used because it's so but all right, well, what's like let's say 2 years from now. Everyone does the year and the 5 year. Let's say 2 years from now. What's the goal? Where do you want to be in 2 years?
2 years, 5 rental properties.
Okay.
Still probably will be flipping, just because it's cool for me. I like it. It's fun. It's stressful. Like as soon as I get started on something, I'm like stressed. So the last couple of days I haven't been sleeping because we just closed. But even the last few days to get to the closing was stressful. And then it's like, okay, here goes the money. Let's go. We got to start spending money and, we have it, but it's just nerve wracking for me.
Yeah.
So
hey, you're good.
Yeah, I'll get more used to it. So, but flipping, but definitely 5 rental properties. And I'm not going to share that. I was going to say something else, but it's like a big dream that I've always had, but I'm not going to put it in the universe. I'm not putting it in the universe.
How else is it going to happen if you don't put it out there?
I haven't even told my husband, so.
All right. Next time.
next time I'll share it.
So.
But yeah, at least 5 in the next 2 years, including this year, next year. Yeah, my goal is 5 rentals.
Okay.
Whether they're here, out of state, as long as I have 5, that's my goal.
So a little slight challenge to you. Instead of saying like a rental number, maybe come up with a cash flow number.
Right.
Because you'd be surprised, maybe you could get that cash flow number with just 2 rentals, or it might take a little bit more. You don't know. So
that's excellent. As soon as you said that, I could see that. That's 2 different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Thanks for that.
No problem. Or you decide, you pay off a car or, whatever. So it's, like, that's that kind of like fire number thing, so.
Have it tied to something that it's going to replace.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, all right. Well, sounds good. We'll be back here in 2 years to, see where you're at. And in the meantime, Elle, we're going to wrap it up here. So if, if people want to get a hold of you or they have questions or they want to do a deal with you or something, how can they get a hold of you?
So you can follow me on Facebook. That's pretty much the only place I am for as social media is concerned. I'm Elle Richardson on Facebook. That's EL space Richardson. And I hang out there a little bit. I post my videos and different things that I'm doing, pictures, stuff with homeowners, whatever. It's kind of my day-to-day sometimes. I'm trying to get better with social. That's a big thing that we all are. It's like post, but I'm just not that. I haven't been that.
I feel you.
Not going to say I'm not. I just haven't. And personal, I've been off social media for a few years. I'm a voyeur. I'm scrolling and looking at everybody's life and liking things, but I don't really put myself out there.
I know it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard. You gotta force you
be out there.
Even I feel like I post a lot, but then compared to other people, I post nothing. So
I'm like, do you?
Like for me, there's years I didn't
at all.
I didn't post at all. I was, I think I was initially like when social media came out, and that was like kind of my generation, of like, and I was, back when it wasn't everybody you knew and it wasn't 24/7, I used to put a lot out there, on social media. And then once it like was, but I try and at least put all the, some projects and stuff like that. But usually I'm just paying people to, cut up stuff like this and put it on there for me. So I don't have to deal with it, but
you've grown up now and the whole social media thing. Like I pay people to do that.
If I could pay people to like just follow me around and record it, that'd be way easier.
Yeah.
But I'm not there yet. Someday, that's my 2 year goal.
Yeah, I'm about to say
I want a full-time videographer. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but document the whole
Yep.
process. The whole
Then I don't have to worry
journey.
about it because
Yeah.
when you have to think about like you got to pull a camera out and like and get in the zone, and then half the time you're like not in the mood, and then sometimes you are, but you don't have the camera with you.
Yeah, it's
you
all
know,
kind of
so
things.
it's
We were out today trying to do a video. I was out with one of the other members, Tammy, and we were getting ready to leave because we were walking this property. We found out about a lien sale. Finally, found out about one. I need to find out how to find those.
the newspaper.
What newspaper?
Wow, all of them. Yeah.
I can't find a newspaper.
Yeah, I can't give you that
The
trick.
ones who know are gatekeeping. Because I did that to Evan last week. I was like, "Oh, so where'd you find that?" He was like, well, the newspaper.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it. You see how?
Yep,
You see that? You see that?
That's where they have to post them. That's where they have to post them.
Anyway,
So, well, right on. Well, it's been good having you on the show. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
that's it. You guys, just figure out what you want to do. Find a niche. Because there's so many ways, as I said in one of my other videos, there's so many ways to skin this real estate cat. It's a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different ways to go about it, a lot of different ways to make money, a lot of ways of helping people.
Absolutely.
That's really the biggest factor. Like, you really get to help people out of certain situations or just transitions in life, or it doesn't have to be a distressful situation. It's just, having solutions to people's real estate kind of issues and challenges. It just is it's a contribution to the community. So I love the fact that I'm able to sit down with people and kind of talk through their things, their issues, challenges, and come up with solutions that really help make it easy. And it's stuff that people never think about because they think just, I got to sell it, I need to get a check, and boom, that's it. That's the end of it. And
No,
it's not. It's really not. So. Just
Wise
helping
words.
people.
Wise words. You've been learning a lot.
Yeah.
So good stuff. Good stuff. Well, Elle, it's been great having you on the show. I'm gonna wrap it up here. So again, my name is Rich Rice. This has been the FIREchat Podcast. You can check us out at FIREchatPodcast.com if you want to be on the show, or come to the Fire Center here in Riverside, where we teach people how to be financially independent through real estate. You go to FireCenterHQ.com. Again, that's FireCenterHQ.com. We meet here pretty much every Wednesday and do like 15 other events every single month. So check us out, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for listening in.